Right, so question 3, we want to try to draw the graph of this, and maybe we can find the focal points and the vertices as well. But notice that this question is not in standard form. So we need to divide everything by 48. We need to make this number on the right equal to 1. So divide everything by 48. So 4 into 48, that's going to be 1 on 12, isn't it? So this is x squared on 12 plus 3, 16. That will be y squared on 16 equals 1. So the next step is I want to think about what a and b are from our standard form. So we'll turn the denominators here into numbers to power 2. So x squared on 12 is not a perfect square, so you're going to have to make that root 12 squared, which is the same as 12, isn't it? And then we've got y squared on 16, which is 4 squared, equals 1. So we have this form x squared on 12 plus y squared on 16 equals 1. Now let's change these denominators, 12 and 16, to be to power 2. So we'll write x squared on root 12 squared plus y squared on 4 squared is 1. So now we can see that we've got these denominators converted to a and b. So in our standard forms, a is the larger number. So this is a. A would be 4. Therefore, b would be root 12. When we draw our graphs, root 12 is approximately 3.46. And that will give us an idea of how to graph it. So let's look at our graph. So we're going to go out 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 units up and 4 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4, and go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the y-axis, we'll go up 4 unit and down 4 unit, because this is the major axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is here. And then we'll go down 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And for along the x-axis, we have 3.46. So 1, 2, 3, it's around 3.5. So there, 3.5 there. And so this is your major axis, which is the y-axis. And the x-axis in this case is the minor axis. So let's draw our graph in roughly. So let's just go around and go up. Yeah, you can draw better than me. So hopefully you also look better than that. Anyway, so that's basically your graph. So this point is root 12, 0. This is negative root 12, 0. This would be 0, 4. And this is 0, negative 4. So if we want our focal point, your foci, we use the relationship c squared is a squared minus b squared. And we know a and b from this standard form up here. So c squared is 16 minus 12. So c squared is 4. So c will be plus or minus 2. So this will give us the location from the center. So c is 2 and c is negative 2. So we can mark them on. And remember, these are on the major axis. The focal points are always on the major axis. So the major axis. So we go up 2 units. So this is focal point 1, which is going to be 0, 2. And we go down 2 units to focal point 2, So that would be 0, -2 down to here. So those are your two focal points, and that's your graph finished. Okay, so this is a question. We need to find the equation of the ellipse given some information. So the information that's been given are the x-intercepts, which are ±5, and the y-intercepts are ±2. So we can just start graphing it to get an idea of what the equation is. So x-intercepts are 5, so we'll come out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here. So that's your first one. And then -5 on the other side. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5 on this side. And your y-intercepts are ±2. So 1, 2, and -1, -2. So we already know roughly what the graph looks like. So let's graph that. Okay, something that looks roughly like that. And so from our equation, we know that this is the x-axis. We know this is the y-axis. So let's write our general form, which would be x squared on a squared plus y squared on b squared, which equals 1. And from your graph, you can see that 5 would have to be a. So we can see how they match up here. And y is going to be related to 2 here. So let's write them in. So x squared on 5, because a is 5 here. So this would be 5 squared plus y squared on b squared. So this is b is 2. And that would be 2 squared equals 1. So you're going to get x squared on 25 plus y squared on 4 equals 1. So that's your final equation here. So for a bit extra information, we can find the focal points. So for the foci, we'll use the formula c squared is a squared minus b squared, which is going to give us c squared is a squared, which is 25, minus b squared, which is 4. So c squared will be 21. So we'll need to use our calculator to get an estimate of that. So root 21 will be c, which is around 4.6. So c is plus or minus 4.6 roughly. So then we need to draw this point onto our graph. Now the focal point's always on the major axis, and the major axis is the x-axis in this question. And the y-axis is the minor axis. Okay, so we'll mark 4.6, which is very close actually to the a value, isn't it? So 4.6 is roughly here. So let's call that focal point 2. So that would be 4.60. And on this side, it would be minus -4.60. That would be, let's call that focal point 1. So that's your graph finished with the focal points. Okay, for this question, we want to try to draw the graph and get the equation. We're given the x-intercepts as plus or minus √6, which is approximately 2.45. And the y-intercepts are plus or minus 2√3, which is around 3.46. So we'll use these decimal numbers when we draw the graph. So we can actually start drawing the graph because we know what the x and y-intercepts are. So on the y-axis, it's 3.46. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So a little bit less than 3.5. So this is about 3.46. So that's 2√3. And we go down to √3 as well. So 1, 2, 3, 3.46. bit further down here. A bit roughly around there. And for your x-intercepts, around 2.45. So 1, 2, 3, so 2.45, about there. So that's going to be root 6. And on the other side, 1, 2, 2.45, about here. So negative root 6. So we can draw the graph in. Okay, so that's roughly where your ellipse is. Doesn't look great, but that's roughly like what it would look like. Okay, so that's your basic picture. So we can see that the major axis is going to be the long axis here, which is the larger number, because this is equivalent to root 12, this number here. So the major axis is the y-axis. And the minor axis is the shorter axis, so that's the x-axis here. Okay, so for our general form, we'd have x squared on b squared plus y squared on a squared, and a being the larger number, and that's on the y-axis. So that's our general form, standard form rather. So then we'd write x squared on b. Now in this case, that's root 6 squared plus y squared on a squared. So a here is 2 root 3 squared equals 1. So we're going to get x squared on root 6 squared, which is 6, plus y squared, and that's going to be 4 times 3, which is 12, equals 1. So that will be our standard equation. And just noting that this is the major axis. So this is A. So A is 2 root 3 or negative 2 root 3, if you like, for down here. And that's your B value there, which is root 6.